don't feel that WhatsApp should substitute work. It should augment it. So with a lot of senior leaders, I'm on a one-on-one. I'll say, hey, so and so, our team has been working on it. I'm going to be coming to Bombay next week. Hope if you are there, I'll come and see you. I say, yeah, sure, sure. Come, drop my
Yeah.
drop them. So those types of things. So just keeping in touch,
Just
sharing.
enabling relationships. Like
Yes,
that's
yes.
what it is.
It's basically
Right?
an empty message. Yeah, yeah. We don't want WhatsApp to replace any work activity. It is more of augmenting, informing, engaging, all of
Hmm.
those types of things. So look at it as a surround sound which enables work to happen more efficiently.
Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Down and Dirty with Dr. T. And today I have with me Pankaj Rai. He's Aditya Birla Group's Chief Data Analytics Officer, a professional with experience of over 30 years in strategy consulting and financial services. He was formerly with Wells Fargo, with Dell, Standard Chartered Bank, big names. He has a bachelor's degree from IIT. He has an MBA from IIM and Ahmedabad, and in his free time, he enjoys long distance running, cycling, badminton, and meeting people at his favorite cafe in Bangalore's Kormangala. So, next time I'm in Bangalore, I know where we are going to meet. Pankaj, it's great to have you on the show.
And it's called terabytes, and I don't have a stake in it.
Okay, all right. So, Pankaj, it's like I said, it's I'm really excited about talking to you about your favorite tool. I know what we're going to talk about. I can't wait to delve into it further. But before that, for people who don't know much about you, I want to start us off, warm us up by talking about a day in your life as Chief Data Analytics Officer. What from the time you wake up, tell us what time you wake up in the morning till the time you go to bed. What does your average day look like?
Right. So I was a process improvement guy once upon a time, and since then somehow process has become the way of my life. So my day in a weekday, day on a weekend, most of them
Hmm.
are reasonably predictable with some sort of
Hmm.
variation and so on. Uh, so 10:30 to 6:30 is typically my sleep time. So that's
Hmm.
put in my Apple Watch, and
Hmm.
it will tell me 10:30, time to go to bed. So usually I will wake up between 6:30 and 7, give or take.
Hmm.
Uh, and then typically from 7:30 to 8:30 or before that is an hour of walk slash run with a
Hmm.
bunch of people in Koramangala. So my life is governed largely by WhatsApp. So there's a Koramangala Walkies and Talkies WhatsApp group where someone would have posted that I'm already walking. So you are expected to call them and say, okay, where are you? In which park or which lake? I'll join you. We chat and we walk or talk or whatever. And then by 8:30, I'm back home. I get ready. 9 o'clock, I'm in the car on way to work. Usually, the car time is also allocated to talking to someone or the other.
Hmm.
If not, then it is some podcast or some book that I am reading. So usually some interaction, whether with a inanimate object or with an animate person. The animate people are usually friends of mine who are aware that this is a good time to chat up, and
Hmm.
sometimes are also in the US because in the morning it's a good time, it's night time at
Yeah.
that time. And these could be professional, personal, it's hard to say what, but calls. Many of them are new people that someone has introduced me to have a
Hmm.
chat about career advice, connection to someone, whatever, right? So I end up talking to a lot of new people. Then I get to office between 10 and 6. There are you know my work day is also comprised of largely meetings, and these
Hmm.
could be meetings with the stakeholder that we work with, my team members. They could be external people, it could be a startup that we are trying to work with, an external consultant who wants to work with. But net most of my time is spent in meetings,
Hmm.
which is, remember when in the COVID time my family realized that this is all that I do in office, and they stopped feeling that I should be tired at the end of the day, because if I'm just chatting with people, then they shouldn't feel sorry for me when I get back home. Then I'm having a good time. So anyway, so that's what I do. Usually between 6 and 7, I'm on my way back home. That
Hmm.
time is again similar to the morning 9 to 10 time.
Hmm.
Either spent talking to someone or the other. Maybe I had missed talking to them in the morning, and therefore it's in the evening, or they are on the West Coast or some such thing, and I think or whatever, and I'm talking to them in the
Hmm.
evening. It's again talking. Else podcast slash audible. Then I get back home. My wife and daughter are usually home. My wife and I share a common interest in watching action movies, spy movies, thriller movies, all of that. So sometimes, we will go out to a movie hall, watch a movie. We enjoy movies in the hall. We used to actually never watch OTT before COVID, but now, we've also gotten accustomed to that. So some movie or some serial is an important ingredient before going to bed. And then, of course, chatting about what's going on and things like that. And then bedtime is 10:30, but, I'm also prone to sleeping earlier than that.
Hmm.
I'm someone who can sleep as much as I can, because in my mind, sleep is priority number one. I say that I should sleep 8 to 9 hours, and if let's say I've had some less sleep, so one of the days I slept at 8 and got up at 6, slept for 10 hours, because in the last 2 days I slept less. So sleep becomes number one priority, and like I said, you would have seen my number two priority is engaging with people, because that's I enjoy doing that, and I think it's also helpful in the type of work that we do. And the weekends are slightly different. Weekends are long runs in the morning, badminton in the evening, and some other social engagements and so on and so forth. But by and large, a mix of fitness activity and some social activity is what makes my day. It's also important to know what all I don't do, because I just said what I do. A lot of things that many people do that I don't do, which may or may not be obvious, is I pretty much don't watch TV. TV meaning the TV. So I
Hmm.
have
Hmm.
no serial, no nothing. It's only OTT movies. That's it, or serial. I have no interest in watching any sort of sports, whether it is
Hmm.
cricket or football or tennis or any such thing. Sometimes I may not even know the names of those people. Zero music, like concerts or anyone playing any kind of music, nothing. Because these are things that most people will have something. Everyone will have some interest in some sport.
Hmm.
Usually, people have some interest in some sort of music, whether it is rock
Yeah.
or music. At the same time, when people call me for a musical concert or something, and with the friends, I would happily go anywhere. I have even went and watched cricket matches or some other matches, but I would never go there on my own. This is more for the company rather than for the match itself. My thing is, if I have time, I'll play on my own. Why would I
Hmm.
want to watch this play?
Fair
So
enough.
that's my, big picture life in the day and on the weekends.
Okay, all right. So, follow-up question. You mentioned, engaging with people. I know, just having met you, how much you enjoy that, and I get a sense of that. But give me a sense of at work, in the position. I understand in a leadership role, what you are doing is meetings and talking to people. But give us more of a flavor of what are the kinds of conversations that you're having, and why is it that you prioritize engaging with people this much, even in the workspace?
Yeah. So I think any engagement is driven by some sense of purpose. And for
Hmm.
me, that sense of purpose in my head has to be clear for that
Hmm.
engagement to be meaningful, and can't be directionless.
Correct.
So the sense of purpose that we have created in our own team and for our own company is that we are here to use AI to drive business transformation. That is the sense
Hmm.
of purpose.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
How do we operationalize that sense of purpose? So we have developed a kind of a model to say this is how we do it. Like I said, I try to break down everything into some kind of a process and
Hmm.
some actions, and
Hmm.
then it becomes easy that this is a sense of purpose, this is the process to be followed, and these are the tasks to be done. So then I know that what I'm doing is in the right direction, and
Hmm.
periodically reflect and make course correction, so to say. So this culture building of AI really has sort of three layers, the way we talk about internally, to say, hey, there are these three layers: your ways of thinking, your ways of working, and your ways of doing. So it's almost like
Hmm.
the why, how, and the what.
Hmm.
So in all of these three layers, we have come up with some ideas on what needs to be done,
Hmm. Hmm.
what type of frameworks need to be created, what type of activities need to be done. Different people are leading each of those areas to
Hmm.
develop it further and refine it further based on experiences that we are gathering through what we do. So a lot of my conversation is with the squad leads, the project leads, the platform leads. These are the artifacts that we
Hmm.
are creating. So what we are trying to create through these mechanisms is
Hmm.
reusable components, and these reusable components could be a piece of code which goes by the name of a data platform, and it also goes by the name of a framework. It could be a problem discovery framework, it could be a
Hmm.
quality
Hmm.
assurance framework, it could be some other framework. So what we are trying to do is to do a bunch of stuff so that we can abstract that into frameworks or codes. Codes go by the name of platforms, and these other abstractions go by the names of frameworks. So
Hmm.
how can we keep refining this wisdom, which is what I
Hmm.
think brings to the table, which can then be shared and then take feedback to evolve it. So to me, therefore, these conversations our ideations, iterations to reflect on what's going on, because many people are doing things, but sometimes they need a bouncing board to make them reflect, sometimes challenge them, sometimes give them new ideas, because when you are inside something, you may or may not think big picture. So I look at it as me who's looking at all these, those things are like there are 10 things, and we call them the 10 commandments. So I'm looking at those 10 commandments to say, are they intersecting with each other? Are they refining? Are they making sense? Does something need to be changed? So to me, it's just almost like shepherding all of these efforts in a
Yeah.
direction so that that sense of purpose can be achieved faster. And all the
Got
other
it.
conversations outside the office in many ways are to me helping me do that, because in general, when I talk to people outside, I get to know what's happening in their industry, it's happening in their life. I might be giving some career advice or something which just give me a insight into how people are thinking about their careers, what's happening in their company. So to me, any external contact, they may be reaching out to me for mentoring advice or seeking connections. I
Mm.
seek out their worldview in life. And to me, every worldview, I always say that you collect the dots and the dots will connect themselves. So I just keep collecting dots and
Yeah.
don't worry about connecting them. And over time, I have seen that as I collect them, many of them just coalesce with each other and form some insights which helps me do what I do.
So in this, I don't even want to call it a quest because I think it's more than a quest. It's not something you're just proactively doing. You've kind of just imbibed it now. It's like become who you are. This person who engages with people, collects the dots. So what are some in this aspect of your life? What are some challenges or obstacles to collecting those dots, to forming those connections?
You know, I think this challenge as a word, I'm unable to relate to.
Mm,
Maybe I don't see them. Maybe the way I think about thing to me, there is no challenge. It's just that
mm,
there are some lessons learned, and then course correct. It's almost like
mm.
remember when we were young, we had these cars which will go, and then they hit an obstacle, and then they go back and go somewhere else.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah,
technically, it's a challenge, or you can say, yeah, I mean, I didn't know this was there, and now I can change connection, and that's fine. I
correct.
mean, it's
Yeah.
just
Mm,
natural. So therefore, there isn't this, I don't relate to that idea of challenge. To
okay.
me, here's what I need to do, let me try this. Oh,
Mm.
this didn't work, so this is what I learned. Now let me try this. Now, was that a challenge? Maybe. In my mind, it was an experiment which either worked or didn't. Either way, it taught me something which can be utilized to take the next step.
Got it. So in that context, in this context of lessons learned, how have you, what are some lessons learned when it comes to, engaging with people? Because this is, you joked about your family thinking that, you not do work, but it is work. I mean, it's even to socialize, to build connection, to use your mind, to be present. Like all of these things are, they are, th- they require effort. So what are some of those lessons learned here?
So many a time these lessons are learned very randomly. So I'll give you two examples. I met a team member of mine who was with me in Dell yesterday, and we
Mm,
ended up talking for 2.5 hours, and he was reflecting on something. And I met another team member of mine 2 3 weeks ago in Mumbai, and she had joined as a fresher in my team. And frankly, I
mm,
didn't feel like that, but that was again 15 years ago. And both those conversations somehow went back to our good old days spent together. That's what happens.
yeah.
But it was also reflective on when they were sharing with me what they learned from me. I wasn't out there to teach them anything, but looks like we all learn something from someone, even if they are not teaching anyone. I
Yeah.
mean, we learn something from our parents, even when they're not telling us anything. So it was interesting. So this guy yesterday was telling me that I learned from you that I don't need to know everything, because I remember talking to you. You told me that I don't know most of the things, but I know who knows it, so I'll go ask them. And I thought that this guy must be joking, because all the leaders that I have seen, they tend to know everything and they micromanage. And how can this guy be? He must be surely joking. And he said, but one day I came to you about something and I asked you for that email, and you looked at it and then said, oh, so this must be that mail which came 6 months ago. And I said, yes. And I said, I must have deleted it. So then he said, oh, so this guy is serious. He actually doesn't keep some of these things, all of that, right? So he basically learned from me that you have to clear up the clutter and keep life simple. So he says, now
Mm.
he was
Mm.
telling me how he keeps his, even wardrobe simple, not cluttered, and many things in life. So he learned some kind of simplicity, saying, I don't need to know anything, and I just need so much to sort of, deal with my life. That lady who I met, she said that I was a fresher, and I was told that you're going to meet me, and I was wondering that why does this head of my department have to meet me? I've just joined, and did I do something wrong? And she said, you were just interested in me, and you remembered a few things about me, and when we met next time, you did something, that thing. And now when I am, and both of them said that now when I'm leading teams, I realize the use of knowing your team members, utilizing that knowledge in a broader way, but also to help them. And they said that they spend a lot of time with their team members, just getting to know them beyond the work, which is what they picked up
Hmm.
from. And I was just like that. I didn't plan to do it, but that's how I am. I was, and that's who I am. So to me, I have somehow inadvertently believed that if I can understand the people, and if I can have them understand the way I think about our common purpose,
Hmm.
they are smart people, they will figure out the rest, and they can of course brainstorm with me, and I can guide them and give them new ideas. But I don't need to micromanage them. I don't need to necessarily force them in a certain way to do it. They can do it in their own way, in their own pace, and I need to be the coach to help them discover their own way of doing it, and they don't have to do it in my own way. Those are the types of things that happen in office and in any other way, the way I am.
Right. So, it does seem like one of the things that enables you to do what you do is you also seem to have you have a forthcoming attitude, right? And you're also, like you said, a process junkie. So you look at everything as what can I take from it? Like, what can I learn from it and move on and apply it in some other context? I completely get that. Has it ever, have you ever encountered a situation where in your effort to maintain and build relationships, um, you've struggled somewhere or you've hit some obstacles where maybe it's a type of team that you interacted with, or let's talk about work and life balance, and how do you continue those conversations, inside work, outside work. Can you talk to me about those points of friction if ever they have arisen?
Yeah, yeah. So long ago, when I used to work in G Capital,
Hmm.
there were a few individuals who I just didn't relate to at all at different
Hmm.
levels, from
Hmm.
junior, senior, and so on and so forth. And I didn't know why, but it just felt like they are not my type.
Hmm.
And the senior ones, I felt I don't want to be them, right? And
Hmm.
you get that
Hmm.
feeling many times. You can
Hmm.
even look at some senior role models in the industry or wherever and say, I'm not that, and I'm this, right? So
Hmm.
I think intuitively we all relate to some, we don't relate to some.
Correct. Correct.
But since I was working with many of them, I did try to engage, but I realized that, I don't want to be in that environment for too long, because
Hmm.
they were more overpowering in creating the culture than I was. I was a
Hmm.
small guy and they were the big guys. So I
Hmm.
wasn't creating culture. They were determining culture. So at the next opportunity which came where I could go somewhere else, I went. I think after that, in many situations where I have been able to create my culture without too much interference from other people,
Hmm.
I have been the one who's trying to create the culture, which I think is the inclusive, transparency, all of those things. So all the things that I felt that should be there, I
Hmm.
have tried to incorporate in my own way and try to create that culture. Still, when in my Dell job, there was a point in time when some of the leaders in the US were of a variety who had a very different worldview than mine. And worldviews are hard to change. It's almost like religion. You
Yeah.
can't. While again, when the next opportunity came about, I went to the other company and so on. So I think clearly there have been many instances where I have not been able to relate to the people or the culture
Hmm.
or what they stood for.
Hmm.
And then I have, when the next possible opportunity walked away, and either try to create my own culture or find other people who I could relate to, and so on and so forth. So I would think that what I'm sharing with you is probably happening to a lot of people. I
Yeah.
think what I don't do is to fret about they being who they are, because everyone is who they are based on the experiences. And one of my wise friends once told me that imagine if you had the same experience that they did, maybe you would be behaving like that. And I said, actually, yes. Maybe I was in their shoes, and whatever they experience, I experienced, maybe I was would be that. So why
Yeah.
do I need to challenge who they are? They are who they are for a reason. And therefore, what I need to do is, one, if I can help some of them see a different worldview, which is mine, and either change or come to terms with it, or if they are not, connecting to each other, then walk away and find a different worldview versus trying to change someone else. Because I think changing someone else is not a worthwhile pursuit, especially if those values and beliefs are deeply embedded in people's mind, which after a while you are able to figure out what can
Yeah.
change. The why is harder to change in people.
So for somebody who is, engaging with people, very aware of, you know, how different worldviews can exist and how you should navigate those worldviews, which ones should you adopt, which ones should you encourage, um, what are some what what do you use on a daily basis to maintain this engagement? Like, what are the things, the tools, the apps? Like, what do you phone calls? You mentioned phone calls when you're driving. You also mentioned WhatsApp. Are there any other communication? I imagine communication based tools are important to you because of this.
Yeah. So I think first is the principle of engagement, and then is the execution of that principle. So my principle of engagement was something that I learned long ago. This is all about engaging with people, or you can broadly call it networking. And I remember a session when I was in Dell. This was again more than 15 years ago or something. When there was a session happening by a senior leader from the US, and someone actually asked him, and he was an Indian guy, "Hey Manish, we talked a lot about networking, but what are the three things I can do?" Someone said, "That's fine. You're talking a lot, but tell me what I do." And I still remember what he said. And I then realized that, oh, I think I probably do that, but I didn't know I could articulate in the way that Manish did. So I can just tell you what that articulation was. He said that when you're meeting anyone, and he said, this is what I have learned, you do three things. One is, when you talk to them, tell them something that they don't know but would be interested in knowing. And for that, you might need to do some research, maybe talk to people who know them and all of that. And it's not hard to find out what someone's interest might be. So engage with them. If they like cricket, if they like movies, if they like analysis, whatever it is, talk to them of something that they would be interested in, which you are good at. Second, ask them about something that they are really good at and you can learn from them. And maybe even if you can't learn from them, fake it. At least let them share something with you, because everyone
Hmm.
loves sharing what they're good at, even if it is not of use to you. Let's say you don't like music, but they are great in Carnatic music.
Yeah.
Ask them about Carnatic music.
Yeah.
They can fake it, because that will create a reciprocity, because you have shared something with them.
Hmm.
They want to share something with you that they are good at. So that establishes the reciprocity. And the last thing is to say, you know what, these are some of the areas that I'm really good at. And whenever you need, here's my number. Feel free to call me. I would love to come and help.
Hmm.
So Manish said that basically, if you establish that reciprocity on what I'm good at, what you are good at, and we have shared something, and I also live with you with the thought that I'm always willing to help and engage with you in areas that I
Hmm.
can contribute to your life, they would look forward to meeting you next time versus otherwise. And
Hmm.
imagine a conversation that many a times, especially the junior people have with senior people, imagining that the senior people owe something to them. You got
Hmm.
to mentor me. You have to help me with my job. And there's nothing wrong in expecting something from seniors. But beyond a point, you also need to understand that everyone is a human being. They also expect some reciprocity. And if you
Hmm.
don't have anything meaningful to contribute to them, there's some who are very good at extracting something out of you. I think I'm one of them. Even if you come with a blank slate, seeking something very tactical from me, you will go back. I would have learned a lot from you without you realizing it. You would have gotten much more than the tactical thing you came for. But not everyone will be like you. Someone will say, "Yeah, this fellow always comes and asks me for a job or asks me for advice. Tell your assistant that whenever this fellow comes,
Hmm.
tell him I'm busy, right?" And that happened. We don't know. So
Yeah.
these are the networking tips that I learned, and therefore, to me, that principle, the way it was articulated, really stayed with me. So I try to do that in any conversation to the extent possible. I think I do that probably naturally, but I keep that in mind. So if I'm
Hmm.
talking to,
Hmm.
I would love to know something about what you've done. And like I said, I'm naturally curious about anything. So I
Yeah.
don't have to fake it. And the other piece is that if you have some interest, I would like to share with you and then say, okay, happy to help you. So that is my process. Now that process, I like to conduct as much of it in a conversational mode, which is non-digital, because I
Hmm.
like to engage face to face or
Hmm.
this way versus on WhatsApp. So
Hmm.
first is that, but of course you can't talk to everyone there. So therefore, to me, WhatsApp is the thing that I access when I have no one to talk to. So many times I sent you a WhatsApp message at 10 a.m. and you are accessing it at 10 p.m. and that has happened. I said, yeah, I think in those 12 hours, there were enough people that were around me and I didn't need to see WhatsApp. So I will access WhatsApp only when I have no one around me. So today, I don't know when I saw it last. I don't know when I had seen next. If there is no one and I'm going back home and there's no one has called me and I have no one to call, maybe I might say, let me just check WhatsApp and see it. Or if I am into some podcast, I'll say, okay, I'll check WhatsApp before going to sleep. But definitely in the 24-hour cycle, I would have seen all messages once or twice, if not twice, at least once.
Got it.
I
Got
would
it.
go to bed with an unread message either on an email or a WhatsApp. So I tell people that 24 hour is my turnaround time. If within that I don't respond, then you should check whether I'm alive or not because that's serious.
In addition to WhatsApp, are you using any other communication tools?
No.
So it's
Because
just
WhatsApp
WhatsApp.
to me represents a. I would imagine that a lot of most people that I know. I mean, I'm looking at Slack channels or Teams channel, which are mostly official channels. Email, which also tends to be largely official, and WhatsApp, which is these days has become both official and unofficial. There are lots of. I mean, pretty much I would imagine that every company has a bunch of WhatsApp groups of office people. Sometimes doing
Mm-hmm.
serious work, sometimes doing best practice sharing, but certainly there's a WhatsApp community, even of office people in almost every office that I'm aware of, right? And therefore, I find that the most easiest channel to engage people on, whether for work or for play. And therefore, I am probably part of 50, 60 WhatsApp group. Half of them I might have been creating myself, but I never let people remember who created it because I make everyone the admin because I don't want to have the headache of managing any group. After a while, people forget who created it, but I know what those groups are for. I know when and how I need to access it. And given that there are 60 of them, the default is that I don't need to read any message. Reading a message is the exception, not reading is the rule. So I will go once in a while, check. So I will tell people that never imagine that I would have read every message in any group. Maybe I would have read 5% of the message, and those 5% will be depending on when I opened it. So I let people know that for me, WhatsApp, those 60 channels of WhatsApp are like the 60 hostel rooms. So there are rooms. I don't peep into every room all the time. Once in a while, I will go into Tapsi's room and say, what's going on, guys? I'm not going to ask you what happened before. I'm not going to go check what you did later. To me, that's WhatsApp. I will go once in a while, check what's going on, maybe comment on it, and then forget about it. Next time I might go 2 days later, 1 week later, I don't know. So therefore, don't rely on posting a WhatsApp message in a group and imagine that I would have read it. 99% I won't have. So if you want me to know, you got to send it to me separately.
And just to clarify, these are 50 to 60 groups, not 15 to 16.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
50 to 60. Okay.
It's very
So,
simple. I went to these two colleges. There are city-wise groups. There are
yeah.
some, so 6, 7 groups of IIT, 6, 7 groups of IIMs. I've worked for 7, 8 companies, alumni groups. Then there are some teams within those large companies. Okay, oh, we were in the strategy team together, we were in the analyst team together. So people form subgroups. So there
Yeah.
are lots of groups keep forming, running group, cycling group, all that kind of group, women's group, spirituality group, thought-provoking group, Wall Street thought leaders group. I can go on and on. I don't even remember all the names. There are joking groups, all kinds of groups. So yeah, so all kinds of groups keep forming. And I myself created in the recent 1 year, if you were to ask me, I created two groups which were of interest to me. So for me, if there is a common interest, then better to create a group. One was related to social impact because some people have been talking about it, and someone said this is an area which is worth investigating. And maybe when you retire, you've got to be doing something in this space, so might as well start thinking about it now. So I said, okay, let's start a group. So I have a bunch of people who are social entrepreneurs or interested in social, so I learn about that. Then someone came and said, my dad is very old and I don't know how to engage him. So we created a silver generation engagement group. And then we said, maybe one day we'll be in that dad's position. So maybe while right now it is to help our dad, but maybe it'll help us later on. So what are the issues of aging and what can one do and all. So I think these are the two recent ones, but then you can imagine that new groups might come about based on the common interest that a few of us can think about.
Before WhatsApp, there was Facebook chat, right? Like that's where people were at. Um, were you part of Facebook groups and chat with the same objective of staying in touch with people in the way that WhatsApp is now, or any other platform? I'm just suggesting Facebook chat, but maybe there's something
I was
else.
never on Facebook chat, but I was always on Facebook. Facebook was a off-use channel for me to
Hmm.
share, learn, exchange all that. That has gone down a bit. Clearly,
Hmm.
you have only as much time in the world. The other channel which has now become more prominent in my life is Instagram because I
Hmm.
find that also a lot of information is there. Lots of groups are there. I've learned to make reels. We went for an offsite recently, and a few young team members asked me that do you make your own reels or do you have a PR agency to do that for you? I said, no, no, I'm not a star. I make my own reels. It's not as hard as, and you guys know it. Why do you think I can't make reels? So, so yeah.
Okay, but
And
for
I have to say,
chatting,
I
but for
was not.
communication,
Huh?
yeah.
So Instagram also has this forward feature. So, there are a few groups over there. There are people that sometimes you want to share something interesting. I mean, earlier it was mostly frivolous stuff, stand-up comedy, but these days I find a lot of meaningful stuff coming around of all kinds. So I share it with people. But I would say that still, in my generation, a lot of people don't use Instagram. Even in the slightly younger one, in my own team, I think the folks using Instagram are very far and few. Mostly the younger chaps, the older ones don't use
Got
it.
it.
But
But
they're all on
before
Insta.
the right. And before I'm more interested in what were you doing before WhatsApp? Like when we were this way, has WhatsApp enabled you to build more relationships, to engage more, or has it replaced another way that you were engaging earlier?
No, clearly that, earlier the mode was phone call. Um,
Hmm.
I was talking a lot more to people on the phone. When I go for my run, also I talk, and it's called a conversation. So remember the days when people will say that, because when I go for the morning run, some of my US friends, I'll say, let's chat when I'm in the morning run. So some morning runs for an hour, I'm chatting to someone, and some others, 7, 8, running next to me are saying, "What are you doing? Are you interviewing someone in the US or whatever?" Now that doesn't happen anymore because some of it has happened through WhatsApp and other channels. So
Hmm.
yeah, there's some amount of replacement, but there's a lot of expansion because some of
Hmm.
those groups which I am on and the engagement that is happening with some of those people would not have happened because it was limited by the voice call that I could do. Now because I'm on some larger groups and I'm sharing something or commenting on something, I'll get a call from someone who I didn't know who would want to chat about that. That wouldn't have happened in the past, right? So I do think that the social network used in a good way can help you expand your network and can also align you to newer people who otherwise wouldn't have come into your life, which to me was
Yeah.
only physically running with people or playing badminton or whatever. That was anyway happening. But this through digital, now I'm talking to people wherever, depending on a common interest.
Can we talk about how it has enabled these new conversations with different types of people in the context of work? Can you give me a few examples of where it has opened your circle?
Yeah. So, these days, what is also happening is that people are forming WhatsApp group on communities. So there is, I'm in the, you can say, field of AI or data or whatever.
Hmm.
So I'm part of several such data AI groups. There's an organization called NASCOM, which is into, software industry and so on. They have a council called NASCOM Product Council, NPC. NPC itself has a dozen groups on health tech, deep tech, ed tech, whatever. I'm part of many of them,
Hmm.
right? Now, like I said, I may not participate in all of them, but I know they are there. And once in a while, I'll go and check out the talent and culture piece if I think
Hmm.
I'm interested in that, all of that. So to me, there are all these options that I have created. I think the other option which I didn't talk about is also these newsletters.
Hmm.
A long list of newsletters that I subscribe to.
Hmm.
10% of them are free, 20% of them are paid.
You're getting your news from these
All
newsletters. You're
curated
staying
from
up
all.
to date,
Yeah.
up to
So
date with these newsletters.
but like I said, these are all optionalities. So for me,
Yeah.
I don't read all of it. There are a dozen
Yeah.
weekly newsletters. So I know what one is for. And once in a while, again, it's like the WhatsApp group. I will once in a while go to one of them, read something there. So I'm creating a lot of options. It's almost like saying I'm laying out the
Yeah.
buffet. I don't know what I will eat when, but let the buffet
Yeah.
be there. So quote unquote, I
Got
am
it.
paying for the buffet, not necessarily consuming all of it,
Fair
because
enough.
I think I would rather create the option to be able to eat when I want to eat versus become obese.
Yeah.
In fact, that's the analogy that I use that in the past when we were having the scarcity economy and now we are in the abundant economy. Food and information both were scarce, and therefore the right mental model was to say whenever you got either of the two, just consume it because you don't know when you will get the next meal or the next
Yeah.
meals.
Yeah.
Now, because it is abundant and we are still applying the same old mindset, so we are getting obese in the tummy and sometimes mentally ill at the top. So I would think that the new mindset which is required is the by default dieting mindset. You don't have to
Mm.
consume the news or food till you are hungry, mentally or physically. So I have kind of gotten into that JOMO mode of joy of missing out, that I don't need to know anything till I need it. And when I need it, I'll seek it out. I have already created the option of buffet on the food side and also information on the other side. I know it's there. I'll seek it out when I need it. I don't need to consume it just because it's there.
How does WhatsApp, when it comes to work, you have Slack, you have, you have the G Suite, set of tools, you have Meet, you have Microsoft Teams, but then you also have WhatsApp, right? In the same company setting. What is the difference between a WhatsApp group at work versus a Slack group at work?
So I don't use any of the official company groups at all. My life is getting conducted all on WhatsApp, even with
Why?
and the reason for that is I think people, most of the people that I engage with, I mean, I am someone who likes to call them my friend versus a colleague, right? So I think there are
Hmm.
people who will differentiate between a colleague and a friend.
Hmm.
To me, everyone is only a friend. There's no
Hmm.
colleague.
Hmm.
So if everyone is a friend, then by definition they are all on WhatsApp. So I'm only dealing with friends. They happen to be colleague at this point in time. That's my mindset when I am engaging with people. And people on WhatsApp engage as friends. People on Slack and otherwise engage as colleagues. I don't want to engage with any colleague. I only engage with friends.
So what happens to, Slack talk? A huge differentiator is the fact that you can have these different channels and you can kind of organize your thoughts. Now I know you can do the same thing with WhatsApp because WhatsApp has come up with groups and communities and that notion. Do you find value in those groupings and communities that now WhatsApp allows you to nest multiple groups within a bigger group?
Yeah. And the other thing is that in our company, people are still not as tech savvy to be having some of these channels. So,
Hmm.
so there are one or two, but they're hardly active. Now,
Hmm.
I don't intend to create one, but if
Hmm.
at all they got created, I'll figure out a way to engage with them also. So, given
Hmm.
that there's nothing much on the official side anyway,
Hmm.
I leverage the WhatsApp channel, and it
And is
works.
WhatsApp nested? Like, are there multiple groups within the larger umbrella organization of, let's say Aditya Birla?
Not really, because the thing is that this group is very vast and very diverse, and
Correct.
nesting doesn't help. We are the unique team that works across different companies, but they don't
Hmm.
necessarily see value in each other. So I think bringing them all together in one place doesn't help. So right now, at least, we think that keeping them all separate is fine
Yeah.
because they're
So
different.
yeah,
Yeah,
got it, got it. No, and I was also talking about it more from not an ops level, of how WhatsApp is implemented at a company level, but for you personally, for someone who's sitting on 50, 60 groups where you may or may not be engaging with, you're kind of picking and choosing. Are you appreciate, let me ask you this, which features of WhatsApp are you particularly appreciative of? Or is it just the fact that it's a medium to stay in touch? Like WhatsApp has video, WhatsApp has audio, WhatsApp has groups, WhatsApp has mute notifications, WhatsApp has, like these things. So which of these do you appreciate? Because it allows you to get what you need out of that platform and the rest of it you don't need.
yeah. No, I think the ease of creating groups, I think that's the
Mm,
biggest, which is very hard sometimes in any other,
mm,
and getting people enrolled very quickly and adding them and so on and so forth. But other than that, like I said, I don't want to actively manage any group. In fact, in
mm.
most groups, I would rather have someone else who's sort of taking that responsibility because I don't want to be managing 60 groups. I don't
Yeah,
take quote unquote any responsibility of managing any of those 60 groups which I originally created in the first place.
yeah,
Although many people tell me that you are an important glue through your contributions to that group for people to be kind of sticking around together, all that, and that's fine because that's who I am. But I don't want to figure out who else needs to be added, who needs to be checked out. Someone will say, why don't you check this fellow out? I said, you are also an admin. If you feel very strongly, not go ahead, do it. I'm not even reading all the messages, so I'm not checking out anyone. And so I don't want to get into the administrative hassle of anything. I would like to just be who I am, and I'm able to do that very effectively. And most of the features are not very important for me. And like I said, I
got
use it
it.
as a communication channel. Yeah.
And tell me for work, Pankaj, when you're using WhatsApp for work, how are you? Are there groups where you're talking to, like leadership is in one group where you can talk about certain things and strategy, and then you have colleagues, where I know you mentioned them as friends, but the idea is you have your team, let's say on another group and are you actually like sharing work and saying, upload this file, has this been done, or can someone share this with me? Like, is work happening openly on these WhatsApp groups?
No. So usually it's idea sharing and experience sharing or something which is happening. Sometimes
Hmm.
articles. So in my work, there could be we have a small strategy team. Some 4 5 people are there, so I'm part of that. Saying, hey,
Hmm.
we need to plan this out. Whatever. There could be something. Hey,
Hmm.
that's awesome.
Hmm.
Who's picking it up? It could be some
Hmm. Hmm.
tactical possibility, or when is that next to you happening, or who's picking up the thread, or where is it? So it could be just tactical stuff where people are there. It's a leadership group also in one place where people are sharing something. Hey, Ultratech result got declared. Did you see the profit went down? And
Hmm.
oh, I
Hmm.
think it happened because of this. So
Hmm.
some conversation around a topic or some economic indicator or some other news item.
Hmm.
It could also be that, oh, I went to the Hindalco Renukoot factory yesterday and here's the video. Look at how good this was. It could be anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Share internal, external news, have a conversation, or someone can ask that, oh, I'm going to be going to this new factory there. Has anyone gone before from your team? How do you get there? Is there an airport there?
Hmm. Hmm.
Any such thing, right? So that's a leadership group. Then there's an entire team. There, oh, we went for the Goa offside. Then people are sharing videos
Hmm.
of how they enjoyed themselves.
Yeah.
Again, whatever is related to the larger team there. Then there's something that we are doing on capability building for Hindalco, one of our group companies. So a bunch of HR and L&D people of Hindalco, a bunch of group HR people from our people, 12 of us saying, hey, we have started a new batch of Hindalco training in Bangalore. It's doing well. What are you thinking? Then someone else share that, this is what we did here. Just sharing. So I'm just saying that people
Hmm.
are just
Hmm.
keeping each other informed, sometimes
Hmm.
asking questions, but it's not really work
It's
happening. I
not
mean, there
work.
could be
Where is work happening?
work is happening through email, through forums, through whatever. We
Okay.
won't feel that WhatsApp should substitute work. It should augment
Hmm.
it. So with a lot of senior leaders, I'm on a one-on-one. I'll say, hey, so and so, our team has been working on it. I'm going to be coming to Bombay next week. Hope if you are there, I'll come and see you. I say, yeah, yeah, sure,
Hmm.
sure.
Hmm.
Come, drop my
Yeah.
drop them. So those types of things. So just keeping in touch,
Just
sharing.
enabling relationships. Like
Yes,
that's
yes.
what it is.
It is basically
Right?
an emergency message. Yeah, yeah. We don't want WhatsApp to replace any work activity. It is more of augmenting, informing, engaging, all
Hmm.
of those types of things. So look at it as a surround sound which enables work to happen more efficiently.
Lovely. Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Where are its limitations? Where do you draw the line? Where you leave WhatsApp and that communication and that chat. Let's say you're talking to a colleague on WhatsApp about something, and it now warrants a sharing of a document. Then is that when you're leaving the platform and then going to your
So usually I don't think anything leads me to lead that and go somewhere else. I can't remember any such instance
okay,
because
it's
those
not okay.
platforms are like not time sensitive, just sharing something doesn't
Okay.
need to lead to it. So it's
It
totally
doesn't. Hmm.
independent. So like I said, WhatsApp is that. Facebook is once in a while I went somewhere for a marriage and I wanted to share pictures, or I did a get together, or I read a book. So I'll combine all of that saying, hey, in the last few weeks, this is what happened. Here are some pictures. So
Yeah.
it's more updating my friend circle on what happened in my life and some insights, maybe a book I'm reading. So Facebook is more just broadcasting that I'm alive and here are the things that I've been engaged in. Because when I go for runs and marathons and all of that, so I'll say, hey, I just ran the Bombay Marathon. It was fun meeting all of these guys. Here are the pictures.
Yeah.
So it's more just quote unquote broadcasting elements of my life, which
Hmm.
I think comes handy because when I meet people, they would all say,
Hmm.
okay, I know what's been happening in your life because you keep posting while I don't post myself. I know what happened. So to me, it's an efficiency measure. I don't have to tell them what happened. They need to tell me what happened because they've not been posting, right? So I have removed my need to share anything about me because when you meet, you start by sharing what happened to you. For me, that has already happened. Many people have already known, so they can actually ask me questions. That's fine. But I have
Very
some
interesting.
efficiency in the relationship, saying you can start from, we can
I love
start
how
with,
your mind works. Everything has a purpose.
yeah,
Facebook is for broadcasting, WhatsApp is for engaging,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
building relationships, it seems.
Yeah.
And then you have your.
Instagram is interesting. It came last in my life, so I'm still figuring out. Initially, it was that it's a nice picture platform. So I said, whenever I'm going to some nice places and some pictures of nature and all of that, I will use it for that. But nowadays, I think I see myself sharing some interesting stuff with someone because you can forward something.
Hmm.
I'm also making reels of my offsite. So there are some overlaps now happening with Facebook. Facebook, I'm not making reels. So
Hmm.
yeah, I think some events get posted here, some there. I will figure out, but yeah, but they are all still broadcast mechanisms. There are
Yeah.
some youngsters who I know now who are only on Instagram. So
Yeah.
maybe such things go to Instagram, which are reel oriented with music embedded. Well, Facebook is probably for an older audience, which is my previous work life, and so on and so forth. And LinkedIn, I don't post anything.
Okay. Okay.
Just remain
So
quiet. But I
if you had
get
a
so much that people think that I'm posting something.
okay. If you had to complete the sentence for me, for a corporate leader, WhatsApp is a great platform to.
Engage and augment your relationships.
Hmm. Okay, good one. Good one. Okay. Before I move to rapid fire, which is super quick, is there anything else regarding your relationship to this tool as a way to engage and augment your relationships that you want to talk about that we haven't touched on?
No, I share a lot of my content that I get from these other places I was telling you, emails and
Hmm.
Substack, many others. I disseminate a lot from one to the other. So
Hmm.
I'm someone who's seen to be sharing a lot of good stuff because I'm in so many places.
Hmm.
Oh, so this one could go to these five groups and this one could go. So intuitively, I'm
Ah.
sharing something interesting from one group to the other. So in many groups, I'll be seen as a meaningful contributor to many of those groups. And I know which groups
Hmm.
like to be a meaningful contributor of. So in those groups, I want to make sure I share because I also learn from them.
Okay, so rapid fire. Last four questions. What's one item on your bucket list?
I don't have a bucket list. To me,
Okay.
I'm always mark to market every second.
Okay.
Young can come today and say, "You wanna go?" I'm saying, "Let's go."
Okay. All right. You're a man who goes with the flow. Which social media platform are you most active on? You
What's that?
mentioned WhatsApp. Um, what is the definition? What comes to mind when I say happiness?
I think it's a result of the contribution or the difference that you have made. I think people should not be seeking happiness. Happiness is like profit. It's an outcome of what you do. So the purpose or the passion or the contribution is what we need to find. The outcome will be profit for the company and happiness for the individual, but we can't focus on the profit and happiness.
Okay. Do you own a vehicle?
Yeah,
Which vehicle?
Krista. My last version was also Innova. Now it is Krista. So for me, it's a thing to go from point A to point B. I don't like to drive.
Okay.
I have a driver who does all the things. I just sit back and enjoy.
Efficiency junkie, process junkie. Pankaj, this was fantastic. Thanks so much for a great conversation.
Thank you, Tapsi.
All right. Okay. Bye. Take care.
Bye, bye.